For me, I'm an interdisciplinary artist. So that means I combine different disciplines and different forms of art. For me, I see it as tools to help me be able to express more fully whatever ideas I'm trying to communicate or how to connect with people. And I think that comes also from my teaching background because I want to reach my students in different ways. So I try to be creative in how I do that. So that I just integrate as many forms of art as possible to make it work out for the end product, just for the idea to be expressed. So again, as like an interdisciplinary artist, I'm not just relegated to canvases or paper. I also do performance art. So as a dancer or whatever, I do digital art. Obviously, you don't necessarily need a canvas to do that. Photography, filmmaking, there's acting, and then the voice performances, storytelling. So all of that, whatever is the purpose is not so much as just creating. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's like therapeutic or helps me work through something, but more it's like how can it benefit someone else? Well, basically, like I view myself as a created being, created with different strengths and abilities and so forth. So it is like a teacher or not a teacher, it doesn't really matter. I just view each person as like a work of art, a masterpiece in the making. So I view my life purpose in some way, I guess, to utilize whatever strengths or skill sets I have to help improve the lives of others. And so if a student comes to me or someone comes to me, like a friend or a family member, and they have something and they would like assistance, so if it's school, of course, it's for whatever life goals they have, but for friends or family members, or other things that they may have, for me, I view it as using whatever I have to help them connect with their skill sets and their strengths. And also my weaknesses too can also be a way for me to help and understand other people too, and maybe it can make a stronger connection as well. So as I use those strengths as a creative person and help someone else in a creative way, perhaps will help them to have a positive outcome. And that's my wish. I know it's not always going to happen, but I don't always start off with research. I mean, it's just when I come across something like, oh, like if I'm curious about something. So like when I create art, like the idea of being curious, what can I do to connect and communicate with people? Those are the key things. So in my curiosity, it's sometimes like, like how can I make this? And so, for example, in my Four Seasons one, that's artwork, I was exploring gold leafing, like how to adhere or how not to adhere properly, and also the textured paint, working with textured paint. Like I wanted to create my own, and with whatever I had available, not just always having to purchase. And then how would I use the impasto technique to create what I wanted to create? So it comes up from a curiosity of how that would work and how can I make that idea come out that would be the basis of my research. But it's not always like research based. So sometimes like for like the child that like it, that wasn't really research. It's just the case. So I was looking at and exploring life cycles and I'm dealing with a lot of different situations where I see like the cycle of life, and so I wanted to depict that by using, it's sort of cliche, like the seasons for that, but it was also helping me in a personal level to deal with death and life and moving on from one phase to another and then having another cycle begin, but it's different every single time. But it's also not just about like, oh, this is the work and it's finished. When I created it, I knew that it reflected fragility of life. And so there are bits and pieces like the gold leafing. I know they'll fall off through time. And then whatever bits that I preserved, like the leaves or whatever I have on it, perhaps the paint will crack and the leaves will lose its color. But that's part of the aging process and part of the life process in it. So creating the piece, this is not the final product through time. Maybe it will be destroyed by time. But that to me is an expression of how life is like. So you can create something, but then it will age and it will disappear over time as well. Well, I used it in my artist statement. I called them realia, and that's actually, realia is a teaching term and a resource for when you're helping people to unlock something that may be abstract or hard to understand. You give them something that is real from real life as like a key to open that, or as a way to personally connect with something. So I guess that's where it transferred over. So it was helping people to discern like which season is which, even though that might have special meaning for me. And of course, each piece has a special meaning for me. That's one way of looking at it. Another way is also with the idea, again, each person, each thing in this world, there's so many people, so many leaves, so many seashells, so many snowflakes and feathers. But when one or some are chosen to be spotlit in a work of art, somehow it's elevated and given value. And it's a statement of how I view each person, again, as a work of art. So it could be any feather, it could be any seashell, it could be any random snowflake or feather. But the important thing is not what was chosen, it was the fact that everybody has a potential to be spotlit, and people will be able to appreciate what they stand for, what they bring to the world and to life. And so that's kind of what I was thinking when I was putting that in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, also, like, I did pick up some of the pieces, like the feather and the leaves on like various walks on the West Coast.
Oh.
Right. So some of them were from my parents' garden when I was helping them weed, and so the leaf skeletons were from there.
Oh.
And so I preserved it, thinking one day I'll use it for an artwork. And then I knew I needed to use a feather for one of my works for spring, which actually was the hardest one to create because I didn't want to go with any cliches of like, oh, flowers or whatever. So I thought birds because when people are emerging from the tunnel of winter, it's so dark and dreary and so forth, and suddenly like, oh, there's open skies, there's sunlight, they hear the song of birds, they're getting more active, and suddenly it's like, oh, there's hope again. So I happened to be thinking about, oh, where can I get a feather? And I was just walking through the Baden-Powell Trail, and I saw this feather on the ground. I'm like, perfect, this will be the one. So yeah, it's on there. Okay, so this was a bit complicated.
Yes.
But I tried to simplify it to one word, and it's the concept of authenticity. So bear with me. So basically, the painting started off by not being a painting. It was just me walking with a child and her mother at a lake one day, and the little girl was just admiring the view and just enjoying her time there. And I thought, well, this is a nice moment. So I asked the mom, like, can I have permission to take a photo of the back of your child, and maybe one day I'd like to do a painting of it. And so the mother was like, yeah, go ahead. So I tried to do the correct composition, got the juxtaposition correct, and okay, got it. And then later on, as I was painting it there in the summer, I was thinking I wanted to be true to the image of the photo and to the family, to honor them and the relationship that we have. So I was painting it, I was working hard on the shadows and the lines and everything. I was thinking of all those masters, as you had mentioned in art history, like how those people have done it with their experience, their training. I'm like, of course I can't be like them. And I was working with limited time, limited tools and a palette. So I'm thinking, well, what can I do to make it as realistic as possible? And then when I finished it, people were saying, oh, that's a nice photo. When I showed it to them, I'm like, no, it's not a photo. Although I did take a photo of it, but yeah, this is actually a painting referencing from a photo. And then people were saying, oh, okay. So I guess some people could say you can take that as a compliment as an artist. But I was thinking, like, well, no, because I can go to any AI and ask it to generate a photorealistic thing, and they can do it easily. Like, why would I have to put all this effort into it? And then I'm not even like near to the levels of the masters. So like, it may look realistic to one person, but to another person, it's still quite obviously not realistic. So what was I trying to do? And I realized it was my sincerity of my relationship with them, my genuine wish to honor them, and also trying to be authentic with the piece, with trying to create that. So that's kind of what it is. And also the ideas of when people look at it, they would be drawn by different things. But what draws people to something is what's personally significant to them, what's authentic to them. So using the lake metaphor, I guess people would look at the work and say, maybe pass by, oh yeah, whatever. And some will care and some don't care, but whoever stops by and gives it a bit more time usually will find something that is authentic or personal to them. And I wouldn't know what that is, but it doesn't matter as long as it's authentic to them and they connect with it and it brings something positive to them, and that's my hope.